I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Calling this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, it says Dr. Vargas's proposed budget. Right to speakers, that's right. Okay, all right. We have a speakers list today. Folks addressing an agenda on the an item on the agenda, and we're going to begin with Susan Augustinelli. Is Ms. Augustinelli here? Good evening.
My name is Susan Augustinelli, and I've worked as a school psychologist in the Rochester City School District for 19 years. I need to speak to you briefly today to draw your attention to proposed changes within the special education department that are of great concern to me and to many of my colleagues sitting out there. When the special education department was revamped 7 years ago, the design included an executive director with 6 other directors who are specialized within their areas. Over the years, because of reductions in staff, we currently have only 4 directors. The proposed budget again introduced yet another reduction to only 2 directors with an executive director. These directors are key players and vital if we are to move the special education department forward. The amount of work to be done within the department has not decreased, so a reduction in leadership does not seem to be a sound plan of action. Of specific concern is the proposed elimination of the Director of Assessment and Related Services. This director currently supervises the speech-language pathologist, occupational therapist, physical therapist, school psychologist, teachers of the visually impaired, teachers of the deaf, audiologists, the match team, and the bilingual assessment team, which equates to over 300 staff members. These 300 staff members impact all of the students in this district, not just those students with IEPs. With the redesign 7 years ago, it was recognized that the director of these departments needed to have knowledge and experience with assessment and related service delivery, which is why one of the requirements of this position is that they must be a speech pathologist or a school psychologist by trade. We are a dedicated staff, but we need a strong leader who understands what we do. The librarians, phys ed teachers, art and music teachers, social workers, and counselors all have directors who have experience in their field. The assessment and related services staff need and deserve the same level of quality leadership that only someone with direct experience can provide to us. It is not a secret that there are many areas that need to be addressed in this district. There are areas that aren't working well. There are facts and figures, however, that prove that the Department of Assessment and Related Services within the special ed department is working well. We have enough work to do in this district without dismantling a department that is effectively functioning as evidenced by data. I can only imagine how difficult it is for all of you to know everything one single line in a budget entails. However, I implore you to dig deeper into the cuts proposed within the special education department. Please ask questions. Please have conversations with the directors that run our departments. Please have conversations with any one of the 300 people that fall under the Director of Assessment and Related Services. Any one of us will be willing to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Augustinelli. Michelle McCourtney. Michelle McCourtney. I heard a couple of you say, "Go, Michelle. Go, Michelle."
This doesn't count as part of my
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I would have said closer.
Hi.
Hello.
So I would like to speak tonight about the proposed changes to the school psychologist department. As you will see in the next upcoming meeting, school psychologists play an important role in the day-to-day functioning of the school building and the day-to-day lives of our students and families. The superintendent and the school board talk about improving student behavior and school discipline. Last summer, many of our department were trained in restorative practices. This year, many more members were trained as instructors in therapeutic crisis intervention. Both of these approaches have been demonstrated to improve student behavior and subsequently academic engagement and achievement. The key piece to successful implementation, though, relationships and relationship building. Last month, our department was informed by the executive director that our current model would shift to a more centralized model. This would involve some psychologists being assigned only to testing and CSE, Committee on Special Education, and CSE meetings. A small few of us would also be assigned to provide social emotional learning support district-wide. This model is absolutely not conducive to relationships or relationship building. There's a lot of research out there on the centralized model of specialized service delivery, and I'm not claiming to be an expert. However, one thing that I did read is that the biggest criticism of this model is its tendency to promote a warehouse type of style. Evaluators go in, they test, they go out. They go in, they test, they go out. They're not fully integrated in the day-to-day functioning of students within their environments. So think about what this could look like. Because it's not a stress-free subject, right? No one wants to hear their kid's name and disability in the same sentence. Guiding families through this process from start to finish, the process doesn't start at the referral and it doesn't finish at the CSE meeting. There's interventions, consultations, communications, plans, progress monitoring. Most times it's weeks or even months before we're even considering going to the Committee on Special Education. There's no way this can be a warehouseable process. Can you imagine how this conversation would be? Hi, ma'am, I've worked with your son 3 hours over the course of a day or two, and I got to inform you that he seems to present with characteristics suggesting an intellectual disability. It's likely he will require specialized supports, probably for the rest of his school career. Okay, bye, gotta go. It doesn't work that way. Without relationships and relationship building, we'll be doing a disservice to our students and their families. We talk about treating our district students as if they were our own children. This is not how I would want decisions for my kid made, basically by a stranger who knows nothing about him outside of a few test scores over the course of a day or two in his life. So I urge you to consider carefully what you're voting for, and as Sue said, call us, ask us questions. We are there and ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Nguyen. Diane Nguyen. As Ms. Nguyen comes up here, I want you all to know we did not select these lighting conditions. It is hot underneath these lights.
Okay.
It's very bright. Sorry, Ms. Nguyen, we won't hold that against you. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Diane, and I've been a school psychologist in the Rochester City School District for 16 years. I am also here tonight with my colleagues to speak regarding the current budget proposal. Of particular concern is the proposal to eliminate the Director of Assessment and Related Services position. The need for the continuation of a strong leader in this department is critical. The director's role includes many things, including organizing staffing for schools, ensuring that we have the essential assessment instruments we need, and leading a problem-solving approach to any issues that arise regarding our work with students. This requires a thorough understanding of the roles of those of us in that department. Are those individuals who are not in our field able to explain the reasons for choosing a particular evaluation tool based on a student's needs? Do they have a thorough understanding of when these tests are being renormed and what our department needs to have in order to complete comprehensive evaluations? Do they have an understanding of the challenges that those in our department face regarding preventative services for children? These questions make it clear why it is essential to have a leader who has the education, experience, and knowledge to understand the impact of these daily decisions on student success. This highlights another important issue, which is the important work that school psychologists do. School psychologists are instrumental in being proactive, ensuring that students have the support they need to prevent difficulties, such as learning problems, disengagement from school, and behavioral challenges that impact learning. However, one department or group of individuals is not more valuable than another in achieving this. School psychologists, social workers, speech pathologists, and all other service providers have very unique skills that are essential for a team approach to meeting the needs of our students. As a team, we need to be in our schools on a daily basis as an integral part of the school community in order to be effective. We cannot say as a district that we want all children to succeed, yet we make decisions that focus on reacting to problems instead of putting our resources into expanding our network of professionals who have the skills to prevent them. At his address to district staff in the beginning of the school year, Dr. Vargas showed a slide, and it said, quote, "Life's greatest gift is the opportunity to throw oneself into a job that puts meaning and hope into the lives of other people." I know this quote well because I posted it in my office after his address. And putting meaning and hope into the lives of others takes significant commitment, as we all know. It takes time to build relationships with families, enough staffing to do the important work that needs to be done, and an understanding of how every decision impacts students. I can say with confidence that there has been no greater time than now that the students in this district need more school psychologists and support staff on a daily basis to support their social emotional needs. Last point. I wanted to say, just as Michelle McCourtney said, Dr. Vargas also continually reminds us, and it's on all of our district websites, that our district vision is that we will treat every child like one of our own. I think I speak for my colleagues when I say that we encourage you to please think long and hard about what you would want for your own children before making any decisions that will impact the long-term success and well-being of the children in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Trzynski. Mark Trzynski. Did I pronounce that correctly? Yes, you did. Oh.
Hey everybody, thanks for allowing us to come and speak. Though this does feel like deja vu all over again. It seems like we're up here quite a bit every year, sort of fighting for ourselves and our children. Life is about choices. The choices we make in life affect us and those around us. Now take a moment to think about a choice that you made that made a big difference in the life of a child. Think about it. What choice have you made in life that has affected the life of a child? We in this district are making choices that directly impact the direction of our impoverished youth and the direction that they take in life and where they will end up in life. I have an article that many of you might be familiar with, and it is entitled "The School to Prison Pipeline" by Mary Ellen Flannery. I won't go into detail, but the idea is that if children and adults around them make the wrong choices, then those children ultimately end up in prison as young adults. And that seems to be a problem with our urban youth, specifically. We psychologists are directly responsible for the path of our impoverished youth and the path that they maintain. We psychologists seek to drive our kids toward graduation. Plain and simple, that's what we do. That's what we're good at. Here's a case in point. I'm a psychologist at All City High, which is all about older kids that are undercredited, and they have a really difficult track to graduate. Out of all the 92 winter graduates, 62 of them were from All City High, and 32 of those had 504 plans that the psychologists are directly responsible for implementing. So that's quite a statistic there. I'm pretty proud of that, and I know my colleagues are proud of the work that they do, and the fact that they're doing 504 plans now, that has, again, another direct impact on kids in terms of whether they graduate or not. So here's something to think about, even harder. If we as a district make choices that have a negative impact on graduation rates, then our children don't have too many choices to make, do they? And we all know what that means. Thank you.
Todd Claflin. Todd Claflin. I know I messed that name up. You can say it at the mic. Thank you.
Good evening. Board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Todd Clefane, and I am a teacher within and proud chairperson of the School Instructors Association. For approximately 40 years, the School Instructors Association has provided teachers to the Rochester City School District certified teachers to service the educational needs of the city's adults as well as high-needs youth in freestanding programs as well as programs in conjunction with community agency partners such as the Monroe County Jail, Monroe County Correctional Facility, Strong Memorial Hospital, Mental Health, Monroe County Non-Secure Detention, Monroe County Secure Detention, Monroe County Probation, the Center for Youth, and in the past, Hillside Children's Center, St. Joseph's Villa, or the Villa of Hope as it's called today, Unity Health, Genesee Hospital, Luther Doyle Chemical Dependency. The School Instructors Unit was created with the size and flexibility required by its programs in mind, particularly in adult ed and incarcerated youth programs, because its teachers were required to be able at times to fulfill instructional needs outside their areas of certification. Because of this, tenure is and was never offered to members of the unit, even though its teachers were nonetheless observed and evaluated like every other teacher in the district. School instructor teachers have for the past 3 years been under the same APPR evaluation system as every other teacher in the district. In addition, programs in this city and district that school instructors originally established have helped to grow today to help provide positions to an additional 25 to 30, at least, other regular RTA teachers. SIA teachers, because of their assignments, have a passion and experience in dealing with some of the most high-need youth and also adults within this community. We're on the front lines dealing with this cycle of poverty that we're all trying to break. We see the pain and the hurt of families and of their student children, and the hurt that incarceration creates, that poverty creates, that unemployment creates. We're on the front lines trying to help break that cycle. Today, there are approximately 35 school instructors remaining, 35. Prior to this year, the district had a moratorium of sorts on the hiring of teachers for the School Instructors Association, and there have been no hires to the unit since 2005, for about the last 10 years. To meet the direction of the district, teachers within School Instructors Association who teach secondary students have for 5 to 10 years been teaching solely within their area of certification, just like all other teachers in the district. And teachers of adult education, where there are no certification requirements, have, regardless of their certification, become specialized in and undergone specialized training for their assignments, most of the latter having taught in those specialized adult assignments for between 15 and 30 years. 95% of school instructors teach at sites within the Youth and Justice Program and within the adult education programs run under the OASIS umbrella at Hart Street. And because they are untenured and thus do not have nor have ever had the option to transfer to regular teaching assignments at other district sites.
Mr. Clefane, could you wrap it up, please? We have a 3-minute limit. I apologize for not explaining that to you.
Yeah,
That's what the buzzer is about.
All right. Right.
Thank
Within
you.
the current budget proposal lies within the OASIS budget on page 33 of section 6, the suggestion that there would be a reduction of 7.4 school instructor positions. We have word that the total number of school instructor displacements, which are really layoffs since the school instructors have not been afforded any other place to teach and offer their experience working with high-needs youth and adults within the district, is closer to 10. This would be approximately 30% of the entire school instructor unit, which is unconscionable enough, but would also result in the loss of hundreds of years of district experience working with adults and some of our most troubled youth. A story recently was relayed to me by a colleague who was friends with a captain of one of our correctional facilities who was meeting with district representatives from central office. This captain relayed that he had complimented the district officials on the job the teachers did at the jail. The response he received from the district officials was, "Oh, so we have teachers at the jail?"
All right, sir, you're going to have to wrap it up. That's like
Did
3
you announce-
buzzers.
okay,
That's 3 buzzers.
Okay,
3
did you
minutes.
announce 3 minutes at the beginning? Because I don't remember.
No, but that is the rule, and that's why you saw most people wrapping it up with when that buzzer went off. So I'll give you just if you can just sort of
I
wrap
would
it up.
appreciate it, because I don't remember that ever being stated at the
That is the-
beginning, and I would have altered my comments from the beginning if I had known.
That is the rule, sir.
Okay.
And I'm almost certain our staff explain that when people call in, but
I
if they
asked
don't.
her. I can ask.
But if they don't, I'm telling you what the rule is now, so I'd ask that you respectfully wrap it up, just like everybody else has done. I'll give you 30 seconds, but you really have to wrap it up. You've had
Okay.
at least 3 buzzers. Please, thank you.
I would ask you to look at the budget line for OASIS and look at the other impacts that the current proposal has on school instructors, who the district has offered no other positions to which to transfer. I would ask you to look at whether valuable services to our city's adults and troubled youth are being unnecessarily and damagingly cut, and valuable experience and loyal service being sacrificed and lost by cutting school instructor positions at these sites. I would ask you to consider whether there's an imperative for these cuts. I appreciate your time. I do.
Thank you.
And I apologize for taking longer.
No worries.
And I
You-
did ask today if there was a time limit.
You
and the
should feel
secretary-
free to
I
make a
apologize.
copy of that statement or give it to our clerk, and she'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of it if you'd like to do that.
I absolutely will do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it. Now, perhaps to my colleague's surprise, we have a rule here, we have a number of rules here, as you can see, and traditionally, we ask people to sign up, but when it comes to budget hearings, there is no such requirement. So I want to say to folks out there, if there's someone that wants to be heard on the budget, you will be given the same courtesy as anybody else. You have 3 minutes. If not, don't feel compelled to speak, because we have another hearing on April the 28th at 6 o'clock where you could sign up and speak as well. But if someone has something compelling to say this evening, you should feel free to step up to the mic. But again, you only have 3 minutes. All right, there being no further comment, let's move on to the next item of on our agenda. What's that? No, I thought that the discussion about 16 and 44 was going to... Oh, all right. There is a motion to adjourn the hearing, and it's been seconded. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye. Aye. The hearing has been adjourned. We now are having a meeting... I'm sorry? What time is it now? Oh, please. We're going to start our meeting. It's 3 minutes early. God forbid the Board of Education do something early. We're going to do it today. And she's going to try to reduce the light so we don't melt up here. Or my glasses will go into sunglass mode. We are having a presentation. The Board of Education asked the superintendent. That's too dark, Shanae. Yeah. Now they can't see us. Sorry, I know you're trying your best. Oh, it is? All right, so all for now, and we'll get them to fix it later. Thank you. Okay, the Board of Education asked the superintendent to make a presentation or provide some different scenarios on number 16 and 44. Ray, you'll be doing that for us tonight?
I will, Mr. President.
All right. The floor is all yours. As those of you shuffle out, please keep quiet. We've obviously begun another meeting, so we need to hear the presentation up here. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, sure. What's that?
These are LED lights. Okay, okay. Sure, sure. Stand to your right. What would you prefer?
Musical chairs.
Next to you is far more. Right here? Right here? Sit over here. We need you. Okay. Less is more. Okay.
Madam Clerk, are we ready? I think we're a go, Ray.
Thank you. President White, Vice President Elliott, Commissioners. On behalf of Dr. Vargas, I am presenting the School 16 and School 44 neighborhood feasibility analysis. As you know, Commissioners, the Board of Education asked the superintendent and his cabinet to look at operations and other aspects of other variables relative to the School 16 and 44 feasibility. As you look at the first slide beyond the cover, you'll notice that it identifies the neighborhood students who attend School 44. The School 44 students who are within or from that neighborhood total 51 students out of a total of 289, and that's a data point that was culled specifically from placement and specific to registrant counts.
Can we ask? So this school, 44, has 51 students to date?
At present registrant count.
So what was the, what's the capacity for the building? Excuse me?
51 are from the neighborhood, 230.
Oh, okay. So the total is 289?
The total number of registrants are 289. The total number of students from the neighborhood are 51.
Could you clarify the definition of neighborhood?
Yes, what we did was we pulled from these, from the immediate zip code, is that correct?
We use a jail code for the neighborhood school, so the neighborhood school has an area that's been determined, and so we looked at the student physical address to see where their neighborhood school is.
So it's the catchment area, not actually the larger neighborhood, because
Correct.
the area, the interest here is School 44 and the neighborhood, the 19th Ward in particular. So just to clarify, that 51 is from the catchment area of 44. It is not from the neighborhood. And if you actually add the catchments, then you get to a much larger number and a much higher percentage that are from the neighborhood, even with all the barriers attending 44 right now.
Well, I guess I'm a little confused now. So from the neighborhood, it is, I'm confused about.
Go to the next page.
Yeah, I was just going to
Okay.
say, thank you, Commissioner. Students from School 16 and 44 neighborhoods who attend School 44, cumulatively, you can see that the School 16 neighborhood, there are a total of 69 students, whereas this 44 school neighborhood, there are 51 students. Students drawn from other neighborhoods, a total of 169 students.
All right, go on.
As we delve deeper in, there will be some additional clarifying
Okay.
data points. The next slide shows that students from School 16 and 44 neighborhoods who attend School 16 specifically, because that data was disaggregated to ensure that we broke the School 16 proper data out as well. You'll notice that the School 16 neighborhood, the students who attend School 16 proper, from the School 16 neighborhood are a total of 122 students, whereas those from the 44 school neighborhood are 17 students. Other neighborhoods or students drawn from other neighborhoods are a total of 439. The feasibility study, or the feasibility analysis, if you will, for this preliminary set of data points was requested from the board based on kindergarten and first grade section request considerations. As you can see from the next slide, the 15-16 enrollment projections for kindergarten are identified at School 16 as 3 sections of general education and 1 section of a 12-1 classroom through our special education or specialized services programming, and first grade will have 4 sections of general education. We do understand that the board asked for consideration relative to moving grades K and 1 from School 16 proper to 44 schools campus. The staffing implications are as follows. Additional 0.5 teacher or an FTE would be needed to address special areas. That would eliminate 4 itinerant teaching staffs, teaching positions. Education-related support services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech-language therapy, or pathology services would become itinerant between School 16 primary and School 44 student services. As you know, based on attrition, this year there was a slated reduction in the assistant principal at School 44's campus based on the anticipated reduction of sections at School 44. As a result, what would happen in a case where there would be potential for K-1 students from 16's campus sharing 44's campus, the increase in registrant counts there would account for the need of that assistant principal at School 44's campus. Costs for building level staff such as custodian, lunch monitors, and break paras would be embedded in the school budgets. In the event that there would be a shift to move grades K and 1 from 16 proper, which as we know is at Freddie Thomas's current campus, to 44's campus, the space implications would be as follows. 11 additional classrooms can be accommodated at School 44's campus. 8 additional classrooms would be utilized at 44, while 9 classrooms would be needed. We have a number of scenarios, 3 scenarios that we've identified. I'm going to just speak to the scenarios from the screen specifically. If you look at scenario 1, keeping 1 pre-K section at School 44 in response to neighborhood requests, you would then shift 1 pre-K section to School 16 at Freddie Thomas campus. You would move 1 pre-K section to School 10's campus as a feeder to School 16, and continue to execute the board resolution to close 44's campus by 2020. Scenario B would be to maintain 3 pre-K sections at School 44's campus, move School 16 grades K-1 from Freddie Thomas's campus to School 44's campus, which would be the require the 8 classrooms. And then scenario C would be to maintain 3 current pre-K sections at School 44's campus, moving School 16 pre-K from School 10, which is in the current plan, to School 44's campus. Move School 16 grades K-1 from Freddie Thomas to School 44's campus, which requires 9 classrooms, knowing that based on the shifts in grade levels, there are only 8 classrooms available. The current plan, the overall costs associated with option A would be no additional cost. The plan is included in the 15-16 superintendent's draft budget. Options B or C, at present, moving costs would be at $20,000, while transportation costs would be neutral if School 16 maintains their planned schedule of 9:15 to 3:30 bell times. The food service would be a neutral cost, and any additional cost-based analysis would be needed based on the preliminary nature of this data.
Any questions? Let me take the privilege of asking the first question. First of all, thank you for the presentation, Ray. I did ask the superintendent, and I think this was communicated through our staff, that I was interested, and I think other board members were interested as well, in what would conceivably be scenario D, which would be what would be the implications of keeping kindergarten and first grade at number 44 school, and without merging, which is the scenarios that are provided, 16 into 44. And I did, to be quite honest, I did not get an answer to that question. It really would have been helpful to have the implications laid out just as you had laid them out for A, B, C. Now, unfortunately, we'll have to, and my colleagues know, the superintendent knows that this has been on the table for quite some time. We will have to wait because no one here is going to make a decision about scenario D without knowing what the implications would be as you have described them in A, B, and C. So it is, I cannot emphasize enough because I think the email was very clear. It is very important that in this context where the board asks a question, a legitimate question, what would be the implications of just keeping it the way it is? And we realize there are implications. There may be implications for SED, certainly financial implications. It would have been extremely helpful to have that scenario laid out, but instead the answer we got was the chief will lay out scenarios A, B, and C, and then we'll consider other scenarios. No, it was requested that scenario D be provided today. So get that to us as soon as possible. Yes?
I would just like to ask it on the floor now. I mean, there's no reason we can't have an answer to that question right now live.
If he can try.
So, as we know, 44 school is a likely candidate for receivership under the new, under the governor's new proposed legislation. One of the things that we would have to...
I'm sorry, it was not listed in any of the materials that we've received as a likely candidate for receivership. We received 4 specific schools, and that certainly was not one of them. The one that was questionable was possibly 45 school.
Okay. I can look further into that, Commissioner, just to make sure that we have the specific information. We wanted to, so option D I can obviously look further into and make sure that the board has the information as requested. We also know obviously that with the declining enrollment, it is likely that the State Education Department might ask us to consider closing an alternate school based on the number of registrants that we have in the district. I know that I'm answering this question in light of the question being asked on the floor, so I'm just being honest in terms of the information that I have based on my work in the district.
So as the Chief of Transformation, there's no specific information that you're aware of regarding current paperwork that's been filed with the State Education Department or gentlemen's agreements that have been made verbally with the State Education Department having to do with a commitment to phase out, that School 44 is actually considered a phase-out school in writing with the State Education Department, and that would have to be reversed in writing through some form of negotiation or agreement. Is that true or not?
So it's not a matter of knowledge of a gentleman's agreement per se. Based on my knowledge of and work with the New York State Education Department in general, normally I know that prior to my arrival, the board had voted on or accepted a resolution to close or phase out School 44. I do know oftentimes that the New York State Education Department does monitor those types of communiques in terms
Well,
of...
wait, just to be clear here, and I apologize if I'm being, you can reel me in if I'm being out of order with the back and forth, President White. But they're two entirely separate issues. The issue with facilities excess capacity, where the board had to make the painful decision of closing 5 buildings, and it was very clear that NYSED did in fact expect that and require that of our district. That's a completely separate issue, as you well know, from accountability status and from meeting the different accountability frameworks of priority school, focus school, and so forth. The requirements, the very specific requirements like the expanded learning time, the extra 200 hours,
Yep.
and so forth. So the question, and phase out could in fact be a specific phase out plan, like Freddie Thomas did, like some of our campuses at Edison and Franklin have done in the past. A phase out is a particular way of complying with that framework. Is School 44 in that particular specific compliance framework in writing?
So-
Or is it in a whole school reform model that involves extra hours of time and other interventions involving development and so forth?
So as you may know, in terms of the SEP that we wrote over actually 2 years ago and this past year, the phase out was not necessarily an option that was considered based on the fact that I do know concern had been expressed or has been expressed that phase out has been really choppy in the district, and it's been one of those pieces that, and President White can speak to it because we lived it with Franklin campus. It can be really a painful model and drawn out. You did mention the transformation.
The evidence shows that phase out is harmful. There's evidence. I mean, there's large scale studies.
So you did mention that transformational, the transformation model, if you will. And one of the key components, obviously, in working with 44 School, with Rick DeRose last year, and obviously with Donna Gadolero Anderson this year, and Riddell Freeman, they've been working hard to maintain momentum and progress. But as you know, as a priority school, it still maintains its priority status. So to answer your question, the considerations obviously are available in terms of phase out as one of the options, but that transformation model has really been something that was implemented within the context of the SEP, as you know, which includes those additional 200 hours that have been addressed.
Right. So if I can just say one last thing and then I'll stop. I think at least what I've been articulating and have been receiving some positive feedback from some of my colleagues on is a desire to see clearly not a phase out, because we know that that's destructive, especially when you don't inform the families and the staff what your plan is and it's left open-ended. That's very destructive, unstable, harmful, disrespectful, just clearly bottom line unacceptable. At the same time, we understand that the building is closing in no later than 2020-21. At the same time, the 19th Ward is a large, important neighborhood. I mean, all neighborhoods are important. It's an important neighborhood in terms of making sure that we have public school access, because there are a large number of school-age children. So it seems very reasonable that in the interest of promoting neighborhood schools, which we all say, I mean, from CHIP Partners materials to the superintendent to the Board of Education, we want to strengthen neighborhood community schools. So if that's true, then we should take action that's consistent with that effort. Now, it may be a little bit more complicated to write plans and do long-term planning to account for the closure of the building 44, but to strengthen the access for neighborhood students. So when School 16 returns, we want to make sure that we have not eroded our population of neighborhood students and dissuaded them from attending public schools, which there's evidence that that is happening every day. It's a crisis. And this fall, fall 2015, we need kindergarten access for students. We need to continue kindergarten, first grade, early elementary access for our students in the neighborhood. So we're very, I mean, nobody's trying to dictate a certain way to do this, but we want to see that you take the framework you're required to work with, the priority status, the fact that the building is closing in the future, but craft a plan that maintains access. And it seems like the very reasonable thing to do would to be simply keep School 44 open with a K through 6 capacity until School 16 returns to post. Nobody's arguing to keep 44 open indefinitely. Nobody's arguing to, expand some big, to make some big expensive investment. It's very, very conservative, efficient, and reasonable. So that's why nobody asked for an analysis of School 16 to move into School 44. I mean, this would be a rather disruptive thing to do at this stage, and as far as I know, there's been no input secured from any of the school communities regarding this. Now, it may make sense over the future as we get closer to 2018, if that's the date that School 16 returns to post, to really rationally and reasonably think about something like that, but vetting it and discussing it and planning it ahead. So that, I just want to make really clear that we did not suggest that like a grouping of classes or cohorts move from 16 into the 44 building. That seems to be like I don't understand. It seems to be a red herring to me, because I'm just being honest, because I don't see anything in terms of NYSED. Nobody's been able to, except making vague references to it, produce the actual restriction or constraint that we would have to go to NYSED and release ourselves from. And even if we did, then let's talk about that and how we approach that and build a model that is built around neighborhood community schools, strengthening those as our improvement model.
Okay. Let me just say, at this particular point, it would be helpful, again, just to clarify what scenario D looks like. And you can and should include any implications it would have on how SED would respond, financial implications, and so forth. So I think Commissioner Adams made it clear, as did my email, what the question's expectations were. If you could just elaborate on that in scenario D, and then my intention would be to have the board make a decision or have an additional conversation about this at our April the 28th meetings. But we need that answer to that scenario as soon as possible. So everybody wants us to make an informed decision.
Understood.
And that's one of those options that I think the board should have presented to it. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from board members regarding the
I would
presentation?
just like to say that I have submitted for consideration a resolution to simply add kindergartens back to 44 school without complex, relocating of School 16 staff and families into a different building this fall, but leaving open the possibility for long-term planning for such a merger and or collaboration, leaving that open-ended. So I'd really like that to be considered.
So as a scenario D, I would suggest, and unless there's any other suggestion from board members, that the one that is before us right now, and for the record, it seems like everybody, you have a copy of this? I know Bill does. But we'll make sure you get a copy of that. But at this particular time, scenario D, unless any other board member has any other recommendation, would be, what would the implications be to add kindergarten back to 44? Is that right? That's the proposal. SED, cost implications, same way you analyze the other three scenarios.
Absolutely.
Okay? Anything further? Good. Okay. I need actually, I'm sorry, we have one speaker addressing that particular agenda item. Sarah help me out here if you're here. Yarwowski? She's not here anyway. She's not here? Okay. All right, there being no further speakers and no further questions or comments, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting and to go into executive session? There's a motion to go in executive session, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Powell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We will be adjourning from downstairs, the second floor. If anybody's interested in sticking around, that's where we'll be adjourning from. Thank you. Have a nice evening.